Hi everyone, I'm Hayley Victoria and welcome back to my crime and policing channel. In today's session, we're talking about these. And we're talking about these. In fact, we're talking about anything. If we use it, it's made or it's adapted to become an offensive weapon. Okay, made, adapted or intended is what I want you to remember. I'm pointing this pen at you, don't know why. So, made, adapted or intended. The Prevention of Crime Act 1953 is where it all began. And that's because post-war Britain had a bit of a crisis on its hands. So we were looking at a lot of young people who'd been part of the war, a lot of young people who were out of work because the country was in financial difficulties post-war. We're still recovering from a massive event, as you can imagine, where all our resources went. In fact, people remember like the olden days or reminisce, or even people who weren't even there, they fantasize about the 1950s and think, oh, it must have been really great, everyone had a whale of a time. Not really, everyone was skint. So a lot of people are delinquent youths, like you have them now. It's not a new thing, guys. In fact, we had them in Victorian England. You're not cool. So a lot of our youngsters were on the streets. Nothing really going on, not much money to do anything, and they've got ready access to shed loads of weaponry. So they had like knives and things, and because of this, we have started to see a lot of like antisocial behaviour. So when it first started to be prevalent was this post-war Britain. Now, in 1953, the Prevention of Crime Act came in, which hoped to reduce the number of like bladed articles and things on the streets. Now, the teddy boy culture was massive back then. So I'll put a picture on teddy boys. And this is where it all came from. And they were running riot across the UK. And to be fair, it's not really slowed down since. It's just every now and then another, the media will call it something else and they'll focus on the subculture genre rather than the actual issue. So I know I'm really old, like 2000s or something, they were calling them all hoodies. So like the kids with the hoods up on the street and stuff. I don't know what you call them now, chavs. But yeah, these young people on the streets, ready access to weapons, not much else going on, not much peer support. A lot of people without a mentor or a figure, a strong balance of the maternal and paternal figures in their lives at the time as well. A lot of people being killed, hadn't they, in the war and stuff. And a lot of people died earlier back then. So anyway, yeah, weapons were a big thing. So the Prevention of Crime Act came in to help reduce that. And it discussed weapons being made, adapted, or intended to cause harm. Now, this could be a number of things. This here is a cartley stick. So I do martial arts as well as teaching. This is you might see them called screamer sticks, tiger canes. It's a big stick, right? This, if I wanted to use this to hurt somebody, I could. However, I don't. I use this for martial arts purposes, and I don't go wandering around with it outside. I might take it from my home to my academy where I teach and where I learn, and I might bring it back home. I don't go wandering around Sheffield twirling it and chasing people down the street with it. I don't do that. So this itself is made technically to be a weapon if it was being used for its original purpose. Now, however, it's made for display and martial arts purposes. It's a sporting instrument, so I wouldn't use it as a weapon. However, if I intended to hurt somebody with it, it then would become a weapon again. And if I had it somewhere I shouldn't have it, I'd have a lot of explaining to do. Okay, similarly, nunchucks. These are my daughter's nunchucks. I left mine at work. As you can see, these are trainer aids. They've got the foam on the end of them. Can't really do much damage with them. But you could do damage with anything, really. If you intended it to become a weapon, this could be a weapon. This could be a weapon. This could be a weapon. Anything could be a weapon if the intention was for you to hurt somebody with it. So let's discuss made, adapted, and intended. So, as I mentioned, this is made to be a weapon. Let's say it is. In fact, this is even better. This is specifically made to be a weapon, right? It's a big bloody sword. However, it's actually something that's on display in the house. Wouldn't go walking around with it outside because that would make me weird. Some people, however, I'm not saying these people are weird by the way, some people might have historical swords for things like reenactments. That's fine if you're on your way there to do your thing on your way back. Wandering around Meadowhall with it is not fine. That's unusual behaviour. You have a lot of explaining to do to the police officers when they stopped you, and yes, it would be unlawful. So that's specifically made, isn't it, to be a weapon. What about intended and adapted then? So this is a glass, as you can see here. On its own, wouldn't really do much damage. I mean, you could probably get a bit of a temple hit with the bottom of it. However, if I smash this glass, it would then become sharp. I could then use it as a weapon. I've adapted it to become an offensive weapon. As it is, it's just a glass. If I smashed it, embedded that into someone's head, I've adapted it to become a weapon. You're going to think I'm really weird now. Intended. So intended could be anything, couldn't it? This, like I mentioned, this little pen could be a weapon. This book could be a weapon. If I intended to hurt somebody with it, it's got some weight on it, that could be a weapon. So, made, adapted, and intended. Let's recap. Made, specifically made to cause harm. Big sword. Intended. Anything could be intended, right? If you want to use it as a weapon, you could use it as a weapon. A pillow could be a weapon if you hit somebody frail enough with it. Adapted. If I smash this, adapted to become a weapon. Made, intended, and adapted. Okay, that covers that bit. Now we're looking at public places. So, as I mentioned, if you've got a legitimate or lawful excuse as to why you're walking around with a weapon, then you've got an excuse. So, there are things like I mentioned, martial arts tools. So I've got this, I've got nunchucks, I've got a bow staff, all sorts of things that I use in martial arts. I take that from my house to where I train and I bring it back again. That is me having a lawful excuse. So if I was stopped by a police officer and I'd got these poking out of a bag, they'd be like, why have you got two baton looking things? I'd be like, the Carly sticks. I'm off to martial arts now, I train. Yeah, it's part of my training kit. They'd be like, okay, cool, because I can explain it. I can show exactly where I'm going. Got all the rest of my gear on. Say it's a time when a class is due. Yeah, excellent, fair enough, off you go. However, if it's 3 a.m. in the morning and I'm walking around with these, like this, I'm clearly not going anywhere to do martial arts, am I? I'm walking around the streets at 3 a.m. with Carly sticks. Now, there's no excuse for me to be doing that. I don't know any martial arts gyms that are open at 3 a.m. in the morning, and yeah, that would be pretty unusual behaviour. This is just me proving that I'm not a complete weirdo and that I do have weapons, but I just use them for martial arts training. So yeah, as you can see, I use them where they're meant to be, in a dojo, and that's where they stay. People who are like carpet fitters or other kind of trades where you have like knives and stuff on you a lot for like cutting stuff, you might have a knife about your person. If you're that certain night out, they'll be like, why have you got that? You can't really explain it. If it's like 4 p.m, you're walking home from work and they search you, you've got a knife and go, oh yeah, I'm a carpet fitter, I've just been at work, I'm on my way home now. They're like, okay, cool. You've got to be able to explain what it is for. My brother was trained to be a chef. He had a bag full of big knives on his way home from college. He was stop searched. He's quite a quirky looking guy. And the police were like, oh, can I ask you what you've got in your bag, please? He said, oh yeah, I've got loads of massive knives, I'm a chef. And they're like, oh right, okay. So he's really honest with him. The guy looked like, oh yeah, so you have. But he's also got his apron, he got his work. And so they could see he definitely was a chef, not just a weird guy with a bag full of knives. And he explained he just finished college in this building, is off home, which is over there, which is exactly where I was going. And they were totally fine with that. So remember, when police stop you and search you, that's all right, that's their job. If they think you've got a weapon on you, and if you're walking around with a weapon, expect to be asked why you are carrying a weapon. There are some items that are undoubtedly offensive weapons or dangerous weapons as per Section 28 of the Violent Crime Reduction Act 2006. These are as follows. I'll pop them on the screen so you can have a look, see what they are. Okay, number 1 is your disguised knife. Now this could look like an everyday object, but inside it there is a knife. So an example of this is when I was back in South Yorkshire Police, maybe 2018. I was teaching an OPT at the time, and we had a credit card, and you snap the top and there was a knife in it, so that's like a disguised knife. Undoubtedly that is an offensive or dangerous weapon. Number 1 is your disguised knife. Number 2, your stealth knife. Now, a stealth knife is a knife or spike which has got a blade or a sharp point made from a material that's not readily detectable by apparatus used for detecting metal. So when you go to clubs and stuff, you have like the knife archers and things. Another one, number 3, a knuckle duster. Never got an excuse for a knuckle duster. Why would you have a knuckle duster? I know back in the 2000s, it was really cool to have belt buckles with knuckle dusters on and stuff. I don't know why. I've got a lot to answer for, guys, honestly. Yeah, so knuckle dusters. Why would you want a knuckle duster? for any other reason but to hurt someone. They're not comfortable to wear. I've obviously tried one on when I was getting out of the property store. Obviously tried knuckle duster on. They're massive and they're not very comfortable. Like, there's no reason to wear a knuckle duster ever. So yeah, knuckle dusters, dangerous. A telescopic truncheon. So you've seen the batons that police officers have, and they're like this, and they're a rack out. So a telescopic truncheon, you've got no need to have one of those unless you are a police officer or similar on duty. On duty, guys. So even if you are a police officer, I know a lot of student cops watch these videos, if you're a police officer and you're wandering about with your baton, don't, unless you're on duty, right? Because that's unlawful. So yeah, no batons. Similarly, your straight baton. So imagine this, but like police-based. Yeah, one of them. No reason to be wandering around one of them. Similarly, I know I mentioned Carly sticks or whatever you might call them in your discipline of martial arts. I have no reason to walk around with a big stick unless I'm off to do some training. Largely, they're kept safely away in my house. Shuriken, shaken, or Death Star. You've seen these on like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and stuff. They're like, I'll just show one. This is a Death Star. You've no reason to walk around with any of these. Ever, really, have you? Unless you're off to a martial arts display thing, in which case it'd be like, the blades would be like buffed off. They'd be like, I can't remember what you call it now. Blunted, yeah. You wouldn't walk around with a sharp shuriken, ever. That's an unusual thing to do, guys. So yeah, don't. A push dagger, so I'll try and find a picture of one of these. It's where it fits between your fingers and slits like that through your fingers. You've got no reason to have one of them either. Like, what kind of occupation or event would you have to walk around with one of them? Let me know in the comments, because I'd love to know, because yeah, you've got no excuse for that. Okay, back to the 2000s, a belt buckle knife. So having a knife concealed in a belt buckle, just stick with the ones that are concealed like bottle openers, guys. You don't need to carry a knife with you. Like, seriously, you don't. What other thing you might have a knife for a night out, I don't know, rather than violence? Like, you don't need to carry a knife. You're not going to be opening letters. You're not going to be like chopping up your food. If you go out for food, they have knives there, guys. You have to take them with you. Honestly, you don't need to take your knives out. A sword stick. My granddad had a sword stick. It was really cool. Obviously, it was very old, and it's since been put into amnesty, don't worry. It was an old walking cane. It's a very old guy. Like, I think it was from like the wartime. And you twisted it and it out came a sword. Very cool. Very, very cool. But you're not part of some James Bond effort. You don't need a sword stick, guys. As cool as it look, it's very Hollywood. You don't need a sword stick. A hand claw. You know Wolverine? That's me being Wolverine. Things that poke through here. Don't need them, guys. You don't need hand claws. You don't need them. A hollow kubaton, which is a cylindric container containing a number of sharp spikes. We had one of these as well. You don't need one of them. A foot claw, similar to the hand claw, but for your feet. Don't need foot claw. A basilong or a butterfly knife. I'll show one of these up as well. I'm doing this because that's what you do with them. You don't need a butterfly knife. Just try and think now. I mean, you're watching this, you're probably a rational person. What reason would you need to walk around with a butterfly knife? You don't need one. It's like those stupid zombie knives. Like, what is that for? You don't need that. All it is made for is to hurt people. Don't need them. Next one, a blowpipe or a blowgun. Like, why would you shoot pellets? Like tranquilizing someone like in Paddington or something. Kusari Gama, which is a length of rope with a cord and wire fastened at one end to a sickle. So you like swing around with the sickle. Imagine someone walking around the street with that. Last but not least is a samurai sword or similar. Now, you've got no reason to wander around outside with a samurai sword unless you are going to or from somewhere where you are allowed to have one. So if it's a private dwelling, for example, you're a martial artist maybe, or like we do, we present sometimes students who've got a lengthy service or they get a certain dan in martial arts, we present them with a like boxed samurai sword with their name on it. That's fine to have in your house. What's not fine is wandering down the street with it. As you've seen, I've got a sword in my house. That's fine. It's not something I'd walk around the street with, and it's mounted. It's a display piece. It's a historical piece, and that's fine. It's not sharp, and I'm not going to go outside with it. I'm not, And similarly, people go to historical reenactments. That's fine. As long as you're on to or from this place you're going to, and it's used in that context, that's fine. People in theatres, in film, will have these things because it's reenactment. What's not fine, like I said, is walking around the street with it, taking it to the pub, going to a park with it, taking it to school. All the things, places you do not take weapons. So let's just recap. Section 53, Registered Crime Act. We're looking at made, adapted and intended. Like I said, something can be made to be an offensive weapon. Can't stick. Intended could be anything, absolutely anything. This pen is a weapon. Adapted, remember, smash glass, poke, made, adapted, and intended. Anyway, I hope you found that interesting. I will see you very, very soon. And I'm loving that we're doing these videos again. So yeah, let me know what you want to do in the comments, and I would love to hear from you. Okay, stay safe, look after each other, and please do not commit any crimes.